Welcome back, our millions of fans, to Call of Cthulhu, Session 36, Across the Atlantic, Session 39, Session 9. Session 9. Let's do a little recap. Get Discord back up. So when we last left off, it was Wednesday, February 7th, 1923. Draper was watching some people coming and going from the hall to their rooms, taking some notes on the neighbors. Wright and Brady had gone down to talk to Mr. Hughes. From Mr. Hughes, they discovered that the crawling chaos comes from Turkey. The two individuals are part of the crawling chaos that are on the ship. They get descriptions. Brady bribes Hughes with $5 to get more information on the woman who is their leader. Flinders has been making up stories about giant sharks, and a bribe was paid about what happened on the deck last night. Apparently, a woman had saw some kind of mysterious fishman and passed out. Flinders shows up later on and has some crazy stories. Talks about some Mediterranean guy who was very interested in some kind of item and asked Flinders to keep. You guys asked Flinders to keep an eye out for him and what he's up to. Something about the sea mole people accosting a woman on deck and giant sharks in the North Atlantic from the Jurassic period are something that he's very excited about. Post Flinders, you guys discuss and do some things like jury rig some kind of trap for the boxes. Talk about the two crawling chaos members on the boat. What are they looking for? And Brady is suspicious of Mrs. Hastings. Is it a coincidence that she is there and seems to know a lot? Draper and Wright to look into the security of Mrs. Hastings' room. They find Mrs. Hastings' accommodations that are near the bow on the port side on the upper level, just above you guys. You ask around about the disturbance of the night, talking to a crewman who found the woman the night before. He describes a person with a horrible downturned mouth, scales, and bulbous eyes. She is located on the starboard side near the front of the boat for her rooms with her husband and her child. You alert the purser Barnes about the suspicious people. Baker and Brady stake out Mrs. Hastings' room, follow Miss Green carrying a load of. Are you okay? Sorry, I was just having a coughing fit. Baker and Brady stake out Hastings' room. Yes, okay, sorry. You end up having to smooth things over with Miss Green after she spots you following her. Luck will follow up about Watt's knowledge about the Deep Ones and Children of the Deep, basically about Atlantis and some stories, and Dagon, and remembers a poem describing Atlantis. Nora meets Mrs. Hastings while tagging along with Watson Brady. She gets along surprisingly well, and they agree to meet up later on that evening. You guys go to dinner. Draper looks around for the woman who Wright mentioned. Spots her at the captain's table, tall, pale, dark hair in an updo, flirting with the captain. Extreme luck, hard listen, regular spot hidden. Overhears her name is Miss Cuthbert. Captain mentions she is unattached, successful, and charming. She looks directly at Mr. Wright as he goes by. Bring meals back to Nora and Thomas. Then Draper attempts to follow Cuthbert and the captain, but she's onto him and manages to spot him out and leave him. Nora goes to meet Mrs. Hastings in the smoking lounge later that evening. She does an education roll with a hard success and realizes that she's familiar with this person, and it's the lady Patricia Ramsey traveling under a pseudonym. Looking at the books and notes, fails the cult roll, doesn't really know much about it, asks about the book, encourages her to show it to Brady and Wright, who likely know more about it. Nora tells her of banishing being through the powers of a witch in her previous adventure. Wright and Brady go to see Miss Clifford, starboard side, second door. Man opens up the door, and after a woman answers initially, the man is rather detestable. But they do get confirmation about the description of the things that she saw, at least. That is some kind of scaly fish man that she claims to have seen on the deck that night before. And anything else to add? Oh, we lost someone. Oh, Emily's Discord crashed and reloaded. She back. Is there anything you guys want to add?
That's what I remember.
So, just to clarify, we hadn't met up after
I had gone off to follow that lady and got spotted, right?
No, I believe you guys had not yet rounded back. You had all been doing your own things. It was getting late in the evening, and the lot of you needed to meet back up to discuss what you were going to do with the remainder of the night, whether you're going straight to bed or you have any other final follow-ups before calling it a night. But presumably you would be on your way back and likely to meet up shortly. I don't think there's anything, unless there was something else you guys want to do while you're out and about before getting back to your rooms.
Yeah, I think once I got spotted and then tried to find them again, um, and just meandered for a minute, not finding them, I would have just headed back to the room.
Mr. Brady and Mr. Wright, are you guys just on your way back after your meeting with the woman and her husband?
What? I don't. I'm sorry if you already said this, but what time would it be during the day or the evening?
It would be getting on into the evening. You'd already had dinner, etc. Probably like 9 or 10 o'clock. Like definitely getting a bit late before heading to bed.
Okay. Yeah, I'd probably be wrapping things up for the day too.
And I would assume Miss Baker would be probably a little bit later back, considering the time that she's spending chatting with Mrs. Hastings.
Yep.
What do you guys want to do? Discuss in one of your rooms before you hit the sack, or are you all just sort of trickling back to your rooms?
Probably be worth talking over our brief and stifled interview.
I forget what Dan was doing during this period.
Watching the box.
Watching the box. Good point. Well, if you guys like to meet back up, you're free to discuss. If you want to just curtail it to that, you update each other on the evening's excitement. I would imagine that the one notable thing maybe to discuss more specifically would be potentially your Miss Baker's talk with Mrs. Hastings. Although also it's kind of the following and losing of the woman with the captain, Cuthbert, is also fairly notable.
Yeah, assuming I get back and everybody else is still awake, I would tell them about the book and that I had encouraged her to share it. And look, at least Brady and Wright have a closer look probably, but otherwise she would not mention recognizing her for her true identity yet, because that seems like something that doesn't really matter, and yeah, could potentially help her stay friends with this person. So she would leave that out for now.
Did you two hit it off?
Yes, she's quite an interesting lady. Certainly not your typical wealthy type of lady. She has a bit more personality than many of the others I've met. Some of the gentlemen did not seem terribly thrilled to have us around, which she did seem to find quite entertaining. But beyond that, I must admit I'm not the most knowledgeable about her occult interests, so she may have much more information to provide to someone who can understand it, but she was certainly interested in our previous adventures.
What's the saying? Birds of a feather. No, it's good that we that there's more that we can ingratiate ourselves with. I know she seems interested in Benjamin's schooling and at least somewhat intrigued by uh, the Watts's unique experiences. With three of us and three different approaches, we very well may get a look at this book.
Indeed, it's worth a try at least while we're on board with not too much else to do. She may have some connections for us when we arrive at our destination as well. But the most we can learn while we are still on the ship would be for the best. We will likely want to move quickly once we reach the other side. I don't want to spend too much more time with this box than we need to.
Of course. Brady and I paid Miss Lifford a visit. While we didn't get a whole lot more information, especially not with her husband there, uh, we did squeeze out one additional tidbit. Apparently, this creature, it looked like it was dressed like a crewman. So we may be dealing with somebody on staff.
Unusual. We will have to inquire with the captain if the uniforms are particularly well guarded, perhaps.
And if possible, which crewmans were on shift at that time.
Indeed. I'm sure he can give us some sort of crew manifest if we explain the importance of it. You say she was hesitant to speak in front of her husband.
They had some very traditional ideas. And it wasn't particularly beneficial to our line of questioning.
Perhaps it would be best to try and catch her away from her rooms and in a more comfortable environment.
Not sure how much more information we could glean, but it's worth a try. That that lady that the captain was with earlier, she's sharp. We need to be careful.
Yeah, mentioning that, I did try to follow them. They were headed, like, from what I followed, they were headed towards the captain's quarters, at least in that general direction.
Uh, yeah, they weren't not. That's for sure. But since you lost track of them and couldn't catch up, it's hard to say for sure.
And she seemed to spot me rather quick. And then I tried to lose line of sight, and then I couldn't find them again. But they were headed towards, in the direction of the captain's quarters. So, but
Interesting.
we did make eye contact. So she did see me.
I thought I had been discreet in my attempts to discern what they were talking about, and she made me almost immediately. So she seems to be very attentive, regardless of her situation, and does meet the description we were given for one of the um, one of the individuals, at least in control of m- s- smaller operations. From what we talked with my our new journalist friend down below deck, it seems maybe even involved higher than we thought.
It sounds like we also need to be careful with the captain as well. It seems he's been a little compromised.
If he is on intimate terms with this lady, it does seem likely that perhaps his occult knowledge is not as innocent as we may have previously suspected.
Seems so trustworthy.
The best liars usually are.
He may not be lying. He just may be oblivious.
In my experience, oblivious men don't rise to the ranks that he has found himself in, but it could be. Could be true. He may not be as knowledgeable as he seems to be. We best tread carefully, though.
Not sure which is more concerning, the prospect that he failed his way up, or that he's been aware the whole time. Either way, we best keep on our toes.
Maybe that's something we need to bring up to the our reporter friend.
I do appreciate your efforts, Draper. I think uh, having those boxes trapped gives us a little extra leeway. Can use any edge
Yes.
we can get.
Yes.
Well, with that, unless there's anything really pressing, should say that you presumably all trickle back to your rooms, swap back off in terms of who is looking after the box, and drift your way off to sleep.
Yeah. So who would have the box? I believe.
I believe it was still in Miss Baker's room, even if Watts was looking after it. Is that not right?
Yeah, I think that's because there were two beds, so we had decided to just kind of leave it there. I thought.
Well, I would show Nora the technique I figured out to bar the door from the inside.
Ah, yes, excellent.
Just to give a little more protection. And then also how to undo it as well.
Well, yes, excellent.
In the morning, let me out!
You just hear like two rapid gunshots as she just shoots the lock off the door. I assume these porthole windows are not large enough for your average person to climb through.
Oh, let's go back to the picture. We have a photo of the boat. No, I think while they're actually relatively large windows, they would not open fully. That's for sure. And then the lower level, where there's actual portholes, are definitely quite small.
That's what I figured, but because she's probably gonna fall asleep smoking, so she'd probably have the window open.
Yeah. So I mean, if I can draw this one second. Freehand. What color? I guess so. In terms of like where you guys would be like staying, you guys would be like in these areas. Whereas then where Mrs. Hastings was staying would be in the upper level up here. In the slightly fancier rooms.
All right, cool.
I'm going to change this music just because it's very repetitive. I'll set it to fade out and I'll switch it. All right. So in terms of the artifact, would you say Mr. Watts is holding on to the artifact again, or is he giving it to Brady?
I think I'm going to sleep with it at my side again.
All right. We'll say that Mr. Watts is happy to test out the theory about whether it makes a difference as to who's sleeping with it during the night.
Yeah.
And anything else before you guys fall asleep?
Nora's just going to look at this lamp from her mom again. Sort of give it like a glance over while she's sort of smoking before bed, sort of thinking about the warning she received and the sort of mystery of it, and contemplating sort of the look of it. Maybe try blowing like smoke in instead of lighting it and just see if anything happens. Just kind of, trying to puzzle it out a bit more.
It does not seem to react. It is old lamp, an old unusual lamp, oil burning.
Does it have oil in it?
It does not have oil in it.
Would it be fairly clear, like what kind of, like it would just be a regular old oil lamp?
I mean, very old oil lamp. Yes, I mean basically your sort of traditional genie lamp that you would see in movies and stuff. It's. I think there is a hand at this, not.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of puzzling at it.
Yeah, Nora's lamp.
Wondering where she would be able to get oil for it if she decided she needed such a thing. Maybe give it a polish just in case something happens.
No genies come out if that's what you're wondering. All right. Well, you head to bed, Mr. Brady. Give me a mythos roll. I'm not exactly using this as intended, but I think it works for the way I want to play out how this artifact functions.
Why can I not find it?
Should be.
I don't know if I have it, actually.
Cthulhu mythos on the left-hand side, doing credit rating and disguise.
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
Holy damn!
Wow.
Wow.
That was a real small chance.
How about it?
Which is the right? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Jesus, it's loud. I assume when I change the volume, it probably does change the volume for you guys as well.
It do.
All right, that's good. So you all drift off to sleep. Mr. Brady, as you sleep, you dream. You awake to find yourself floating serenely in a sea of stars. Uncountable brilliant points of light stretch out endlessly. Utter and complete silence envelops you. What do you do?
Would this be out of? I don't know. I guess I'm trying to decipher whether it would be any different from like a normal dream.
Well, if you normally dream of floating among the stars, then yes. But you are lucid, in control of your faculties. You are adrift.
Okay. I guess maybe. Yeah, just intrigued. Maybe just walking about in my dream, I guess.
You attempt to move, but it seems that you cannot intentionally move yourself with nothing to push off of, and nothing within your in the range of your grasp. But you do seem to be spinning very slowly. Turning your head, the stars seem to stop abruptly to the left-hand side that you are slowly moving towards. Something massive is behind you. A dark mottled surface is all that you can make out in the starlight.
And I'm unable to turn to look.
No, you are, though you are, because you cannot change your motion, you are actually slowly spinning towards this if you wait.
Okay. I guess I just embrace it.
As you slowly drift, you start to see more of this surface. It looks like it's pitted with the impacts of untold eons. It's hard to say what it's made out of, but it certainly looks like a hard surface. It slowly hose into view, and you find yourself gradually looking not at the stars, but at whatever this surface is that stands in front of you.
No reason to be scared or fear or nothing. No reason for irrational behavior or emotions yet.
No, at the moment, you simply find yourself looking at some strange object that is much larger than you could possibly comprehend. It seems to stretch on in all directions towards the direction that you are now facing.
Guess I just wait to see what comes.
You slowly spin and slowly continue spinning, and the stars appear once again to the other side as you start turning around. You turn your head.
And the object or the surface is gone.
It's still to the other side of you. You're basically slowly making a rotation. Do you move or do anything else as you spin slowly into the starlight?
I guess I'll try and like slowly start spinning the opposite way in which I'm currently spinning to try and like maintain eye contact on the thing.
You flail uselessly and lose sight of the thing and slowly make your way in a full circle around. If you continue to wait, you start coming back around and with your gestures and motion as it comes back into view, you seem to manage to make your intentions known across the void. A vertical slit spanning seems like thousands of meters expands in front of you, both above and below you. It splits apart, revealing what seems to be an indescribably large cyclopean eye that looks in your direction.
Oh shit!
As you see this and gasp out, you suddenly find yourself thrust back into your body, waking up in a cold sweat, and you're back inside your bunk. Give me a sanity roll. You scream out as you toss in your bunk and nearly fall out of it, catching yourself before you tumble to the floor. The sweat dripping down your brow, but you do not lose any sanity, and you remember fully this entire experience.
Yeah, I guess I just kind of pick myself back up and try and run through what happened and just wait till daybreak so that I could, I guess, tell Mr. Watts.
Yeah, I'll say, like, obviously, once Dan is back, you could potentially retcon that you spoke with Watts either in the night or in the morning to relay this, but we'll leave that for his return.
Yep.
How loudly did he like scream out? We're in the room next door, right? In theory, I would potentially hear something.
I mean, he saved his sanity roll, so in theory, it wasn't as extreme a reaction as it potentially could have been.
Okay.
I mean, I guess you could give a listen roll and see whether or not you were particularly astutely aware of the noise. Roll a
Very
one.
aware.
So I would say with a hard success, you may have heard something.
We'll sort of toss and turn a bit and not hearing any follow up. I guess go back to sleep.
And just a quick question: the only other people that know about Thomas's object is just myself and I think Mr. Wright. Is that right?
Yeah,
I-
we had talked about it.
I don't remember specifically. It's kind of one of the things that I haven't really particularly kept a lot of notes on.
I think that's. I don't think Draper. I don't think knows, and I don't think he told Nora. I'm not sure.
I don't remember specifically. Yeah, we'll have to check with him on that one. I thought she might have been aware, but I'm not 100% sure, honestly. She wasn't there when he got it, and you only kind of know because you're sharing a room, right? So yeah, it's entirely possible it wouldn't have come up.
Bree's getting a hint, so she's making funny noises behind us. Like, wow! Oh, wow! Wait, that's hello, dog. Alrighty. Yes, well, I mean, so it is getting on towards the morning when you had this dream in the night. But, so yeah, you certainly wait for daybreak. And we will go back to our...
Nothing happens in the room with the other artifact.
The other artifact, you continue to have a somewhat disturbed slumber, but don't remember anything of what it was that disturbed your slumber.
Nora wakes up in the morning and looks at her lamp again. We'll probably get oil somewhere on board.
It's a great and terrible like curse with just like the thing. Don't touch this thing. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're an investigator who does things.
Oh, totally. And she's having bad dreams anyways. So maybe Mom was wrong. I don't know. Mom's been dead a long time. Maybe she was an idiot.
All right. It is early in the morning as you awaken. But Bree, stop it! Jesus Christ! She stole my sweater. As you awaken, I'll say, Mr. Draper and Mr. Wright, you hear a rapping upon your door.
Get up to get it.
I'll ask before getting up. Were you expecting anyone?
No, you?
Not that I can think of.
Wright splashes his face with water real quick and then combs the hair before opening the door.
I will go to my bag where my gun is and just be near the bag. Not like hand in or anything, just near it. Just in case.
Crack the door open.
You find a porter standing there and says, "Sirs, I've been sent to get you."
Sent for whom exactly?
The captain, he says that you've been called upon. Some sort of problem down in the hold last night. I'm not exactly sure of the details, but apparently it concerns you.
Oh dear.
I'm going to bring my bag.
He goes, "I gotta get the rest of your crew. Hold on a moment." And Watts and Brady, you are next on the list to have him knock at your door.
Finish freshening up before head out.
I will answer the door and collect my things and get ready to head out, I guess.
And then Miss Baker, you also receive the same knock from this fresh-faced, pockmarked young lad.
Nora answers the door looking rather disheveled, probably like smudge of ash somewhere on her face. She is lighting one cigarette from the remains of the last one. It's like, what? She's got her hand tucked inside her coat.
He looks at your hand and goes, "Ah! Your friends are coming down too. There's something happened. Something happened down in the hold, and I've been sent to fetch you."
Fuck, they tried to steal it, didn't they?
"I don't know, ma'am, but obviously it's some kind of issue, and the captain sent me, so we got to get down there. If the rest of your group is ready, then I'll lead you down into the hold."
Sort of glance towards the other doors. Like, all right, I'll just be a minute. Close the door very quickly in his face.
He's like holding his hand out for a tip, and he's like, "Thanks."
No. Just go freshen up a little and make sure that her gun is loaded and carefully tucked away out of sight.
Ryan gives him a tip on the way out.
Great. Give him a fresh face, fresh nickel. So he, once you're gathered, he says, like, "Just this way. Be careful on the way down. The steps can be kind of perilous."
So it's all of us together?
Unless you want to leave one of you behind.
I would ask, are we all needed?
I wasn't told one way or the other.
I'll kind of
We
give
could,
the others an eye. Like,
for the sake of Dan not being here, we could say that
Yeah, Dan's the one who stays behind again.
I was just going to say, in character, Nora will sort of glance at Watts, like, why don't you stay put with your seasickness?
Watts nods solemnly but doesn't say anything. Shuts himself into the room.
In theory, into Nora's room, which, the porter might notice, but whatever. Let's go.
The porter says, "All right. Well, if the rest of you are coming, let's make our way down there. The captain and the purser is waiting."
The bursar, you said?
Indeed, he is responsible for the cargo hold after all.
Was an altercation in the cargo hold.
I don't know, I'm just the porter.
He doesn't seem to have many details. We should save our questions for the captain. I think we may all have the same suspicion of what exactly has called us down there.
Nobody tells me anything, ma'am. But I'm sure you'll know more than I do soon enough.
That's likely true. Lead the way.
All right, well, just this way. And he heads on down, scrambling down the steps and through the lower levels, and arrives down at the entrance to the storage area. You can see there's a small group of people looking on, having heard the commotion down below. In the lower level, at least, but nobody seems to have any idea what's going on. It's just some people mildly interested at the fact that there's some people going to and fro. You get down to the bottom of the steps, and the locked lower entrance hatch is open for you by one of the crewmen. Entering into the cargo hold, you see it well lit. Immediately to the right, where the secure storage was located, you see that the actual door is clearly been not just opened, but ripped from its hinges, hanging on by just some bare pieces of metal. This obviously is rather unusual, considering these are a pressure withstanding secured door that would be it was difficult to move, let alone to wrench off of its place.
Sir. Go ahead.
Nora sort of curses again under her breath and heads towards the door more rapidly.
A handful of crewmen, the captain and bursar, are standing around, and as you walk forward, and they catch notice of you, one of them moves to the side, and you see they're sitting on the ground, being tied with his arms tied behind his back. Is Flinders.
Nora will kind of stop, like with one foot raised as she's rushing towards the secure storage, seeing Flinders, and just be like, no, no, one thing at a time. Just keep going towards the door.
Sorry.
Spare a pitied glance at Flinders before continuing on.
Sorry, one second, make a note. So as you approach, the captain says, good, it's good that you are here. As you can see, we seem to have had a break-in. I've never seen such a thing. But it seems that some valuables were taken in the night. It's impossible to imagine how this door was, well, not only broken into, but literally broken.
It is quite surprising. I take it no one heard much of anything? There wasn't some explosion or something of that nature?
Oh, one of my crewmen heard something, and unfortunately, it was the last thing that he heard. And he nods over into the corner, and you see that there is what looks like a shape of a body underneath a tarp.
Oh, well, that is most unfortunate. What happened to the poor soul?
Seems that he was stabbed while taking his shift down here, watching the cargo hold through the night.
Stabbed. Interesting. We can take a look at that later, I suppose, but what exactly seems to have gone missing? I assume we were summoned for a reason.
Well, some common valuables definitely have been misplaced, but it seems that the largest item that has gone missing. Well, it was your case, the artifact.
I had suspected as much.
Of course.
I had honestly expected they would wait until we got closer to shore to try anything, but this gives us some time, hopefully, to locate the persons responsible.
Indeed, we're barely a few days into our 2-week journey, and it seems surprising that anybody, if they were planning to make a move such as this, gesturing towards the torn the door, would do something so early. I'm sure we will have the problem well in hand, but well, I understand that you are a group of some means in investigating such unusual happenings, and while this is an unusual happening, that's certainly to say the least. While my crew will be looking into this and checking what hiding spots that they can, this may be more your expertise to track down.
Well, indeed, I wouldn't have it any other way. This is our case and our business. It is disappointing that your holds turned out to be less secure than previously thought, but
Especially after multiple warnings.
indeed, we have made it quite clear the requirements for this voyage, and I am disappointed to see that so early on we are already disappointed and not receiving quite the care that we had expected. We'll look into it, and hopefully we can find something out within a few days.
None is more disappointed than I, my lady, that I have not lost one piece of cargo on all of my voyages to date. Seeing the secure storage broken into like this is a blight upon my career.
I'll ask him. Do you know what caused this? Pointing towards the door off its hinge.
Says that Well, that is probably the chiefest of the mysteries here. We have a prime suspect. He'll nod towards Flinders and says, but I don't know how such a frail young man could possibly have had the physical prowess. I don't know how any man could have had the physical prowess to break through such a door as this. Yet here we are.
Indeed, I can almost guarantee that fellow had nothing to do with it. He has a habit of turning up in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he is certainly not capable for this level of destruction.
Alaska, would you mind if I take a look at it and see if I could figure out what could have done something like that to a door?
Like, please have as much of a close look as you dare. It is certainly a highly unusual thing in my experience, and whatever you can do to unravel it, neither myself nor my crew has any idea what could possibly do such damage.
And listening to him, am I able to tell if he sounded genuine or not? If there's like any moment within him talking that sounds like he might know more than he leads on?
Give me a psychology roll.
Also, as a quick aside, glancing back at Flinders, does he look frail?
Yeah, no, Flinders is a relatively, he's not a completely unathletic college student, but he is still a man in his early 20s that, is not exactly jacked.
I always pictured him as like really tall and lanky and awkward.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
that
right.
is for a reason or just in my head, but
Is he wet? Does he smell like fish?
We actually do have a picture of Flinders.
yeah. Nora will go with Draper to take a closer look at the door.
Why is it pasting that? What the heck is going on? There's the Flinders picture.
Yeah.
He's a pretty handsome young man. Sorry, what were you doing? Besides looking at the door?
I was going with Draper to look at the door.
All right. Well, yeah, you can head over and look at the door. I guess give me whatever role you think you want to use to look at the door.
I'm not sure. The closest thing I can think of is locksmith, because like
Yeah, that would be
tangential.
tangentially related. Like certainly looking at what happened to the lock is well up your alley.
I think I will try and use like a spot hidden to see if there's anything like really strange, like claw marks, or like some other sign of a creature having done this as opposed to a man.
You with your locksmithing rule, I will say obviously you have a certain level of proficiency that like does not require a roll. You, in terms of your general proficiency, you cannot see that the lock has been particularly tampered with. It looks like the lock was essentially forced by whatever it was that managed to pull this off. You aren't able to glean any like next level insights beyond that in terms of whether the doorway had some kind of special tampering with it that was able to gain access.
Just like, yeah, well, it wasn't the lock.
Which I mean, yeah, is fair. With a spot hidden, you look closely at this, and I would say that you have enough knowledge to say that like it looks like it is something that did manage to apply like directly significant pressure to the center point of the door to pull it outwards by its like central mechanism. It's like bent from a central point as if it was like pulled straight off, breaking at the locking points on the right hand side and the hinges on the left.
So something really big just like grabbed it and ripped it out.
Yeah, or some other mechanism that was able to exert such a kind of like central force.
Okay. She'll fairly quietly, so hopefully only Draper can hear, relay that and point out the markings and stuff. I do feel that we are dealing with some sort of unusual creatures potentially on board this ship. The fishman sighting was just perhaps a little silly on its own, but this seems to indicate there is something more afoot.
Speaking of which, I will say with an extreme success, you do notice that despite the cargo hold generally being dry, that there is a dampness, almost what would look like footprints, both outside and just inside of the door.
Nora will point those out to Draper, and I'll try to be as fast as I can, but if you could try and keep other people away from those marks, I would like to try and get a photograph of them.
I think the captain would be amenable to that.
I'll return shortly. Do be careful down here. She'll hurry back to her room to grab the camera and stuff, and give Watts a really quick some weird shit going on. Looks like a giant creature. Stay
Watts
here.
is so antsy to not be there.
Oh, for sure. She's like, stay here. Watch the box. Be careful.
Locking the door may not matter.
May not matter. I don't remember if he can shoot a rifle, but if he can, she would give him her rifle or point out where the rifle
I
is.
think he has handgun proficiency.
In any case, she's not giving him her handgun. She needs that. He has one of his own. She'll make sure he has it at hand, and then hurry back down with the camera to take a picture as best she can with the footprints and stuff.
While you're doing that, Wright and Brady, standing by the captain and the bursar speaks up and says, the killing, it seems to have been done with some kind of ceremonial knife. And he pulls out a large sort of kerchief and opens it up and shows you a curved, crisp knife blade with stained with blood. That's about 9 inches long and a ornamental handle.
It's a nasty thing. I'm sure a person of your caliber, you certainly didn't mean for any of this to happen. I'm sure you had plenty of precautions. What are your suspicions?
Well, our suspicions are that man over there. He was found knocked out on the floor of this very room, holding the bloody knife in his hand.
It is possible someone could have framed him.
You're telling me that a person ripped this door off its hinges after stabbing someone and then somehow ended up unconscious with the evidence.
It does seem extreme, but as the only lead we have to go on, it's possible that whatever method his accomplices used to break through the door were what rendered him unconscious, and they left him as a patsy for the entire scheme.
Yep.
Do you trust everyone on your staff?
He thinks and says, well, every port we're gaining and losing at least a few people. So have I known all of them for years? No. But generally speaking, each one comes with impeccable recommendations. We do try to be selective in the people that we choose to take on board. The more unsavory types, they're left to the merchant marine and other vessels that are used for the transport of goods.
Anybody with too impeccable of paperwork.
I'll have to spend some time going through the records, but well, you can be darn sure that is exactly what I'll be doing with my day going forward. I'll be happy to let you know if there's anybody that I deem particularly suspicious on my staff.
Can I look at the knife again?
Sure.
And then inspecting the knife, kind of looking it over, can I draw anything from historical means or just the way it looks, maybe the type of metal, maybe the handle? Is there anything that I could maybe draw from it?
You could probably do like an appraisal in general of its like of its like value and significance. You could do an occult roll as to whether you know it's particularly used in terms of occult rituals. A general history roll. I feel like appraise is probably like one of the most relevant things, and I'd say like occult being like the second most relevant.
Okay.
I could go for a cold if you want.
Jesus.
Appraisal.
Just send it to luck.
It didn't matter.
With a cursory glance, can I tell from what I've been talking with Watts if it rings any occult bells?
I mean, like fancy curved knight with jeweled hilt. Like, I mean, it rings a lot of occult bells right off the bat.
I suspect this knife is from the occult.
That's funny. Obviously, so one of the classic push to roll things, of course, at least in terms of your appraise skill, would be to like ask if you can simply take it and spend more time with it. Like that's like an easy peasy. Like you get another try at it, and like if you fail, maybe you damage it or something like that. Like it's a low stakes pushing a roll.
We have
Okay.
only failed 2 push rolls so far.
Which
Third
are
time is a charm.
Third time's the
Yeah.
charm.
Yep.
You stab yourself. It's cursed.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna push it. I might as well.
So you're pushing it will have to take a little bit of time, unless you have a reason why you can push it right now.
No, I can wait.
Here, test this dagger to see if it was the correct one used.
So are you just going to ask the bursar if you can take it?
Yeah. If not at this time, sometime soon. Yeah, I would ask the bursar if I could take it and just study it for a day or two.
He says, like, well, this is evidence of a crime. Captain, is it acceptable if this fellow over here takes hold of this item? The captain looks back at you, furrows his brow for a moment, and says, "It's a little unorthodox, but I suppose so. Just make sure that we get it back before we land. Certainly,
Yeah,
nobody has it."
I could have it back to you in a few days. I just need to kind of study it and see maybe the origins or if there's anything that I can maybe figure out about it. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Did you know the crewman who was killed very well?
The bursar responds and says, "Very well. He has been with the vessel for a few years. I'd certainly say of anybody that I could trust, he'd be one of them. That was why he was given the role of looking after the guarding the cargo hold during the night. It's an easy job, boring one, but one that requires trust and responsibility. And he was paid well for his for this. It will be very sad to have to let his family know once we make port that he has met such an untimely end. It's not something you expect on a passenger vessel."
My condolences. Do you mind if we have a look at the wounds?
It's rather gruesome, but if you must.
I have a glance about. Are we the only people here? Us and Flinders and the bursar, the
There's
captain?
a handful of crew who are on hand right now, milling around outside. It looks like they're there. I mean, on the one hand, 2 of them standing side by side on Flinders to make sure he doesn't try anything. and a few more crew who are checking around the cargo bay on the cargo that's stored outside of the room and otherwise making themselves useful.
I would like to give this person a once over. See if I can find anything unusual on his person.
All right. If you go over and you open them and you take the cover off, at first glance you see a likely mid 40s fellow who is definitely well built. Has worked hard on a vessel all his life. Short cropped beard and hair. With bloody wounds, several of them that appear to be on his chest and torso.
Like defensive wounds.
You pick up and look at his hands, and you do see a slash across his forearms in one place.
There anything unusual about his like expression or like the state of the body? No like frozen expression or strange pallor or anything like that?
Nope, no particularly super strange aspects to it. Like it looks like the man was killed by being stabbed. Definitely lost a considerable amount of blood from several wounds. And like you saw, it has like some indications of a defensive wounds. You'll have to look a little closer to ascertain more than that. You could give me a medicine roll. A medicine, is that right? I think so. Yeah. I don't know if there's like another, like there might be other like sort of more specialized things that would apply, but like the regular thing would be medicine. Potentially first aid, but like you won't get as much. First aid is more about applying first aid, but it could give you more cursory information.
What if I were to be looking for stuff like scales, like salt, like salt water, that kind of stuff like that?
General sort of checking him out, I will say you can give me a spot hidden. You go over him carefully and look over his body, checking through his pockets and looking for any unusual signs of that would indicate something more than just being stabbed to death. Oh, sorry, my nose is really itchy. How to put this? Besides the defensive wounds, while it does look like he clearly was killed by this, it seems that something had grabbed him with some considerable force. You find what look like overly large handprints that were like initially caused like some bruising on his upper arms as you look below look below his jacket as you're looking at his actual chest. These seem larger than at least the average person's, and obviously would have been a considerable grip to cause the bruises in the short period of time before he finally died.
Point him out to Benjamin. Very unusual. I'm no doctor, but it does appear he was killed by that knife. Perhaps restrained first.
The knife isn't cleaned, right? It's still got residue in his blood.
Yep, still got regular blood on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we need to conference with Mr. Watson, see if we can kind of figure anything out on this knife. Maybe hopefully trace back to maybe where it could likely come from.
That'd be wise. Then talking to the bursar again, I'll say, you have so many things on your plate. Perhaps your time could be better utilized if you had some help. Would you mind if we poured over the crew records as well?
That's not something that I'd be willing to open up to you right away, but the captain may grant you such access if you ask him.
Would I be back with my camera?
Yeah, I'd say by now you're back with him.
Okay, I would first take pictures of the footprints, and I'd take a few because not being able to see what you're photographing until after the fact. She'll take a bunch of pictures of the photographs to try and get one that's good, and then also go take a look at the body and just like take pictures of the wounds and the marks if she notices them / they are pointed out.
I don't think I need to make you give me a photography roll to be able to take fucking photographs if you know how to do that.
But if I roll it and then I do well, I can improve it.
Sure. We'll see whether you take really nice photographs. They are acceptable photographs.
Cool. All right. I guess that would take a little while if other people are doing things in the meantime. But she would also take a look at the knife and be like, cool knife. Probably take like a picture of the knife just in case, but
I point out the bruising.
yeah, try and get like a few shots of the wounds themselves and then a few shots of the strange bruising.
The bursar is like, ma'am, do you need to be taking photos of the dead? Have some respect.
I understand your position, sir, but this is a very strange investigation, and if these marks can help us learn who killed him, I'm sure his family would understand. I will avoid taking photographs of his face if that helps you feel better about it.
That seems to mollify him, and he says, if it must be done, I suppose so. Sorry, Jack, you say something?
Is Flinders conscious currently?
Yeah, Flinders is back to consciousness, and he seems rather antsy and is looking in your direction, but it seems concerned to actually try and speak out since it looks like he's probably been roughed up a little bit in the meantime.
Once the door and the footprints have been pictured, I would go to the other two and be like, we should probably speak with Flinders since he was spotted here. He might have more information.
You, Brady, and Wright will go talk to him then while Baker's photographing.
I suppose it's necessary.
It's for the best. If Baker does it, she's gonna beat the kid again. I mean, what the hell did you do, Flinders?
Heading over to Flinders, the two burly sailors look at you and say like he's been spouting off quite a bit of nonsense. I'm not sure you'll be able to get much use out of him. Flinders looks up and says, none of them will listen to me.
Well, we're listening now. What do you get yourself into, Flinders?
You told me you wanted me to keep an eye on that Mediterranean fellow. Well, I did. And I followed him down here and saw that he was up to no good. So I was hiding amongst the crates here and the various cargo, and well, he and his friend, they were very interested in the door over there, that one that seems to be taken off its hinges. And then I was trying to watch very closely, and I kind of crept forward, and well, something smacked me in the back of the head, and I don't remember anything else. But they were down here, and I don't know. Somehow that fellow over there was already dead. He was lying on the ground, and you could see the little puddle of blood. And there was like, I don't know. I swear I saw some strange smoke at the side of the rooms. But I was really only trying to do what you said and keep an eye on that Mediterranean guy. And here we are. And for some reason, I wake up this morning and I'm holding some strange curvy knife. And curves in a knife, ridiculous. I mean, very occult, very interesting. I would love to have one. But I mean, I didn't have one. It's not my knife, and did not stab that guy.
Let's go back a little bit. You said there seemed to be a strange smoke. A smoke like fog.
Yes, sort of like a fog, indeed, like a black fog emanating from the dark. I mean, it was very dark last night down here. Obviously, they don't have all these lights on all the time. And I thought I was very well hidden. I don't know how I got found.
And you said you saw 2 men at the door?
Indeed, yes, 2 men. The Mediterranean fellow and some other guy with him. They were both dressed in cloaks. It was rather hard to make out anything. I only knew it was the fellow because I had followed him and saw him head on down here.
And you only saw the 2 of them. You did not see the one who knocked you unconscious.
No, the third person totally knew, but whoever it was, they got the drop on me. That's for sure.
Had you seen the other 2 talk with any others?
Well, the Mediterranean fellow seemed to be quite the conversationalist. He seemed to speak with many people, so I can't really say specifically. The other one, well, it was the first. I mean, I don't even know who it was. He was dressed up in some cloak and seemed to be pretty well hidden, as was his friend once he was down here and met up. They seemed very interested into that door, and how they managed to pull it off, I have no idea. They certainly did not have the strength to break in there, that's for sure. It must have been whoever clocked me across the head.
I asked one of the people or guards holding him, where exactly did you find him?
Well, we found him in that pool of blood over there on the floor, a little ways from the door.
You found him in the pool of blood.
Well, something like that. He certainly seems to have it all over him. He gestures, and Flinders is indeed covered in a fair bit of blood. But we certainly assumed that he had something to do with whatever happened here last night. Certainly, no good member of the people traveling upon the ship had any reason to be down in the cargo hold in the darkness of the night.
Have a walk over the pool of blood. Are there any footsteps in or out of it?
No, there are not.
Just basically a splat where Flinders was and dragged out
Yeah,
of it.
and then there's like a drag from like where the body was then when the actual body was moved at some point. That it looked like whoever had killed the fellow had at least moved the body over a distance, and then it was dragged obviously further at some point in time to where it now lays underneath the tarp.
Light a cigarette and then walk back over.
Flinders says, "You believe me. I know. What else can I remember? It smelled very salty. I suppose everything out here smells salty. It's kind of the way of being at sea.
Where did you say you were hiding when you were not unconscious?
Just over there, just around the corner, a little ways from the main entrance. I had tried to sneak in behind them. I suppose it might have been kind of obvious given the lights out in the hall. But I tried to duck behind behind the rows of boxes and made my way around the outer skirts of the room to try and get closer.
So, looking at the boxes he was hiding from, it would have been just super easy to see someone hiding there if someone new was walking in the hold.
Yeah, pretty much. Or somebody else. Like it would not have been too hard for somebody to skirt around behind him, given that there's like aisles of stuff that are lined up.
Did you hear anything?
I suppose hear anything.
Didn't hear what they were talking about? Didn't hear any strange noises while you were down here?
They seemed to be talking while I was watching them, but I couldn't really make it out from as far away as I was. I suppose before I was knocked out, I heard some kind of slapping sound? A wet slapping sound.
Kind of give a raised eyebrow to the others.
Do you guys want to take a short 9:30 break and think about whether you have other things to ask before we reconvene? Or do?
Alrighty.
So we're going to try and keep it short tonight. Take a little bit earlier break, and we'll get back to it and see what else you can surmise. Well, welcome back. Do you got what else do you guys want to do in terms of investigating this break-in?
I wanted to actually like look in the storage room itself.
Yeah, so you want to head on into the storage room. As you're heading in there, the bursar will say, Captain, surely we should have one of the mates keep an eye on them as they're looking around. While they are investigators, we don't want anything to go missing and them to be, well, suspected maybe of anything. The captain nods and gestures towards one of the crewmen and says, keep an eye on him.
Assuming Nora is done photographing the body, she will follow him in, take a look around, see if there's anything else strange that should be photographed.
Did you see where the case was placed when you dropped it off? Asking Nora.
I thought we did, yeah. We saw where it went.
Yeah, though, like not like maybe the final placement. There's certainly every possibility that stuff got moved around when it was like you were one of the last people to put stuff in there, so it would have been one of the sort of forefront things.
Gesture in that direction to point out where we saw it. At least where we saw it last.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then just kind of look around that area, see if there's any markings, and just in general if they left anything.
I guess give me a spot hidden. Taking a close look around, you can tell that like there is an obvious spot where your case was removed. Your case was one of the larger cases that were in here. Though that somebody has, I would say with a hard success, potentially made some efforts to make it look like other things were taken more so than they actually cared about taking anything else. that there are a handful of miscellaneous drawers for smaller items that are knocked about. Presumably, some things are missing, though you don't really know. But I would say with a hard success in terms of a spot hidden, that makes it somewhat conspicuous that one particular larger item was removed, and then things were kind of messed up, and a few other random things taken.
Yeah, so it looks like our case was taken, and then just so it didn't look like it was targeted, they just took some smaller things.
Yes, exactly. That it was maybe a misdirection in terms of the rest of the stuff being stolen.
Okay, but nothing like left behind or anything like that.
I mean, in terms of
Salvage.
beyond that, so there's that as I mentioned, Nora spotting that there were some kind of wet footprints. That otherwise, there's no like weird like smoking gun like thing that was left behind by these people.
Okay. I will relay that to Miss Baker.
Sort of nod and glance around as well. Well, it certainly seems like they went out of their way to look for this case. Wonder if we should begin dropping hints of a duplicate in the upcoming days. See what we can decipher first, but we may be able to lure them out if they realize they do not have what they want. Though I'm sure they'll figure it out soon enough.
Yeah, I imagine they already know. Depending on when this took place.
I assume you're going out of your way to not say this in earshot of the crewman who's watching you.
Yeah, I'm trying to be as quiet as possible. Assuming he's not like right up next to us.
No, he's an eye on you, but he's not like literally up, like smashing his face in your business.
Cool. Yeah. Like, well, I think I've taken all the photographs I can usefully take, and I am slightly antsy of leaving Mr. Watts by himself at this point. Perhaps we should double our guard of the remaining cases for the time being.
That would make sense.
Well, good luck. I hope we've gotten everything useful we can from Flinders, as I don't really want to speak with him right now. But we should try and prevent him from being arrested. I'm sure this wasn't his doing.
Seemed like he was just trying to keep to his word.
Yes, well, we'll have to investigate this Mediterranean fellow further. But for now, good night, or good morning, I suppose. I will see you shortly. And she'll head back to check on Mr. Watts and put her camera stuff away. Maybe like pick up some breakfast for the two of them on the way, if that would be feasible.
Yeah, let's see why not. It is breakfast time. The galley should be opening. As you guys are collecting your stuff, Flinders yells out and says, "You're not leaving me with them. Tell them that I'm innocent."
Baker will sort of grumble to herself and then turn in their direction. The only thing the man is guilty of is being a damn fool, and I can promise you that. She'll continue on her way.
The captain responds and says, "I've thrown men in the brig for that."
She chuckles and doesn't turn back.
I guess I would, before leaving, kind of off to the side, I would speak with Mr. Wright, saying that when do you think we should go hit up the reporter about this?
Well, there's something to be said about strategic leaks to the press, but I'm not sure how we could use that to our advantage in this situation. Aside from getting the passengers more alert and suspicious of their neighbors. It'd be harder to conduct nefarious activity if everyone's on edge for the rest of the trip. Of course, the same would go to us if we tried to do sleuthing of our own.
Yeah. It would be nice to see if he has come up with anything after our previous meeting and maybe kind of redirect him in a way that kind of fits the evidence we know so far. Just let me know whenever you think it's best to go see him.
Perhaps cured breakfast. I am a bit peckish.
Okay. Guess we'll plan for that.
So you're making your way out?
Yes.
As you make your way back up the stairs, there's still a small crowd gathered there. Mr. Wright, as you reach the top of the stairs, a small red-headed face appears in the crowd and says, "Why, Mr. Wright? I've been looking for you."
Have you?
Tell me, the crew, they're speaking of some kind of break-in. Does anything go missing? Surely that was why you were called downstairs.
Well, that sounds like privileged information, Mr. Huge.
Ah, and I'm a man of privilege. Privilege and discrimination?
How many people are around him?
A lot. There's like a good couple dozen people who are milling about, kind of like watching what's going on.
Perhaps we should get a coffee and some breakfast.
Ah, chief idea. Let's go and get our bellies filled. Can't have a good natter without a full belly. That's what my ma'am always said.
Well, your mother was a wise woman.
He'll usher you forward, pushing the crowd aside. Are you towing along Mr. Brady or anybody else?
I would come along.
If they're not pushing me away, I'll follow.
Yeah, they certainly could. You haven't met Hughes yet, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
As you go past him, he falls in behind you and says, "And you, sir, who might you be? Clearly you're in cahoots with the likes of them, then you have some kind of importance in the matters at hand."
Yes. My name is Roland Draper, and well, we are kind of in this together.
A pleasure to make your acquaintance, Mr. Draper. What kind of skills do you bring to the fore? Sir, surely like the two here, you have some kind of specialty?
Well, I'm half decent locksmith.
A locksmith? Ah, excellent for a break-in.
Well, that wasn't my handiwork in there.
I'm sure it wasn't. He gives you a big wink. But you are handy in times of need, I'm sure.
It's a useful skill to know.
A good, honest living, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Just nod. You find your way to the lower class galley, the steerage galley, and there is a decent crowd there. As the morning is starting to draw on and breakfast is being served. So you find your way across and obtain some coffee and potentially something to eat and sit down.
Coffee and meat.
You find yourself a few strips of bacon, some eggs, and a piece of bread, and you sit on down with your cup of coffee, and at maybe one of the end caps on the table, so that you can try and attempt to be unheard. It's good hubbub in the close quarters of the steerage galley, steerage dining hall. And but so to some extent it's like, while somebody might lean in and be able to hear you, to some extent it would be pretty obvious if they were trying to do so, considering the general level of noise in the area.
As we're entering, I would like to kind of just take a quick scan to see if I see the two guys that we know of.
I guess give me a spot hidden. You do not see them. So you find your way over and sit down, and Mr. Hughes says, "So, is it true the cargo hold has been broken into in the night?"
Well, you're sure to find out soon enough.
He's like, "I'll take that as a confirmation."
Seems things have gotten out of the Bursar's control.
A good man, but not somebody that I did not rely on in trying times. At least he seems to be, well, a fair weather sailor, to use a appropriate term.
I find odd because the captain seemed to be a sailor of all kinds of weathers.
Ah, the captain. Yes, he has a storied history. He is certainly not a man to be trifled with.
What kind of stories have you heard?
Well, he was not always sailing passenger vessels. He has been a part of the, been a member of the Navy, leading vessels in times of war back during the Great War. He then made a name for himself, traveling to distant places, delivering sensitive cargo, and generally being somebody that you could trust. However, he has a fondness for the ladies.
Interesting. Have you had any movement on what we asked before?
Yes, well, there's been some little things that old Hughes has been able to dredge up. It does seem that this leader of the group that you're interested in, she is on the vessel. I haven't been able to find a name, but it does seem that the fellows that you're interested in have been meeting with someone from the upper decks.
Perhaps a myth, Miss Cuthbert.
Cuthbert, is it? Well, that name doesn't exactly ring a bell, but then again, there's a lot of people on this vessel. That is certainly something for me to use if I'm going to continue my investigation.
Sure, it's a name unique to this voyage, but a name nonetheless. She seems to have caught the captain's ear.
Ah, caught the captain's ear. Well, that certainly plays into his fondness for the ladies. Not something he would have had access to when he was working in merchant vessels or in the Navy, of course. But on passenger ships, there's certainly plenty of ladies to go around.
Have you uh, have you seen much of a Mr. Flinders while you've been down here?
Oh, that fellow, the loud one. Well, yes, he certainly was getting around in the last day or so. Well, from yesterday afternoon, I can't say that I saw him. Not sure he showed up at dinner. I would have known. He certainly may. I was able to stand out from the crowd. That man.
And these two fellows we've discussed previously, have there been any rumblings the last day?
Not that I've been aware of. They've been around here and there, certainly out on the deck and doing a few things. They seem to be missing from breakfast this morning, but who knows? Certainly a handful of people have taken sick. Feels like the waters, they're getting a little bit choppier as we've come through the night. Not quite as smooth sailing.
Give a glance at Brady and Draper. Well, it's true there was a break-in, and a man's dead.
Dead, you say? I thought I had heard rumblings of that among the crew, but it seemed too much to believe. On a passenger vessel, that much less. Why would somebody die? How did they die? What was circumstances? Was anything stolen then?
All very good questions. What might you have to offer in recompense?
Ah, that's exactly the question now, isn't it? Old Hughes, he might have some more things he could dredge up, but you know that we journalistic types. Well, it's hard to put bread on the table unless we're getting paid for our efforts. Nowhere to publish my stories out here. See,
Well, our previous pay hasn't exactly dredged up anything we didn't already know.
a likely story after I've told you all the things that were useful that I found. Surely something in there was of use, and if it wasn't, well, caveat emptor.
We've given you a name, and you've given us rumors.
Well, how's this
If,
then? Let's just say that. Sorry. Double check I'm not saying the wrong thing. Let's just say that there were some unusual sounds coming from down below. Sounds that, well, they weren't the sounds of your average break-in. There's a buzz amongst the lower decks down here, closer to the cargo hold, about strange sightings, strange noises in the night, smoke trailing through the halls. Not all as it seems. It is not something that is just normal robbery at the high seas.
and this is more of interest. To continue on Miss Cuthbert's trail, and let's to flesh out these stories, more details. We'll provide a few of our own. There was an individual killed in this altercation. I give the crewman's name. And then, by death by stabbing.
No, I never gave you a name. It was Crewman Higgins.
Higgins. Crewman Mr. Higgins, deceased by blade. Quite a gruesome thing. And many small items were stolen, but only one large.
One large, that's unusual. Not many large items get stored in the secure. Oh my god. Hiccups. Sneezes. Jesus. Sorry. So it's unusual that large items ever get stored into the secure hold. Do you have any idea what it was?
Only too well.
And something that is close to the heart or the purse strings then.
imagine the individuals responsible for this heist will be quite dissatisfied and will be looking towards a future altercation.
Then they didn't get what they wanted. It was left behind, or maybe a clever ruse.
Something of the like. Thankfully, what they wanted was actually in the captain's care. And
Very good idea. Captain, upstanding fellow, leaving some items in his care. Now that's sure to be a safe place. I'll make sure that such information doesn't get out, or does. And he looks at you knowingly.
I give him a smirk. It would be a terrible thing if this item were vulnerable due to the captain's relationship with Miss Cuthbert.
We'll have to find out if he knows of her acquaintance.
Well, I believe our relationship has been beneficial, Mr. Hughes. We'll stay in touch.
Indeed. Would you care to give old Hughes a stipend for his efforts in the next day or so? I'm sure greasing palms, it does not come for free. And if I had some additional funds, I might be able to do so with alacrity.
In addition to the intangibles we've already exchanged.
Indeed, many of the people on this vessel, well, they're more interested in cash than they are in information, unlike myself. I always work for information, but information does not come for free to me.
How much did we give him last time?
So I think like $5.
Yeah, I think I gave him 5 myself, and then I think you gave him something.
I'll give him an additional 5.
He says, you're too kind, too kind. This will go a long way in finding more information soon enough. If you find me again tomorrow, I'm sure I'll have more to tell you.
He'll certainly want another $5 at least.
Hughes!
On the way, well, unless the others had anything.
I can't think anything kind of covered it.
Just kind of, I don't know if necessarily in front of Hughes, but just a question. I'm thinking maybe as we're like leaving, I'll ask. I'll start talking and say, I don't quite understand. They didn't really leave much, but they left the knife. I understand potentially framing Flinders, but like, it seems a flimsy reason.
Could also be a message.
Yeah, if it's got a cult precedence, then it's likely sending a message to people that know about what it means.
It does seem that we need, and I give a glance about to make sure no one's in close earshot. It does seem that we need to provide an additional package to the captain, since our package in the hold was already taken.
Let's see, we had 4, including the actual one, I think. So we put 1 in the hold, so we have 2 fakes left. So yeah, I guess we could give one to the captain.
Hopefully, with Mr. Hughes's word, they'll be directed another way, at least to buy us some more time.
They might be a little more cautious next time. You know, the saying, fool me once.
Anything to buy us another day. We have a lot to follow through with here.
So if we were to leave one in the captain's quarters, right? Um, Mr. Draper, would you be able to tell if someone tried to pick the lock?
Well, they're booby trapped.
Yeah, they have the trap, so if that's sprung, then that's an obvious sign.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that one would be, but okay. That
We
makes
could.
sense.
I trapped one of the fakes and then the actual one, so we could hand him the trapped fake.
Okay.
With the advice not to open it, of course.
Yeah.
Under no circumstance. We should probably see if any boats are missing. The only reason to act this early would be to return.
That would have been a good question to ask when we were there.
I find a crewman on the way up. They're just any crewman available on our way back.
Yeah, there's certainly crewmen in various places milling around. Milling around, doing stuff, going to and fro. Like, it's certainly not hard to track one down.
I'll just ask one. Are all the boats accounted for?
All the boats. Well, I think I'd certainly hear if there was one missing.
Have they been checked recently? Perhaps in the last 8 hours.
He looks at you like you're an idiot. He's like, "Sir, they're very obvious. It would be pretty obvious. It would be pretty obvious if somebody had taken one of the boats."
Well, that's one less thing to worry about.
We're pretty far out into the ocean by a few days into a voyage. It would be practically suicide to just jump into the boat without having SOS being called out or somebody to pick you up.
They could have someone to pick him up.
Like sea mole people.
Or another boat.
Or fish moles.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, crewman.
He just nods and goes back to his business. As you're making your way, the boat seems to be rocking a little more than before.
Well, we have fish people, and now we have wet fish or footprints, and the sea seems disquieted. Not liking where this is going.
You see. Excuse me. You see, obviously, as you're up and about in the lower levels, some crewmen who are starting to ferry items from the lower hold upstairs. Presumably, the items from the secure hold to some other place that the captain has deemed, or the bursar has deemed as a new place to keep the items that need to be kept secure.
If no one has objections, I'd bring the decoy, the package to the bursar and make it clear that we want it kept by the captain.
Oh, so sorry. I was just asking. Anyway, so I assume it's the three of you, and she's off doing stuff, and Watts is back in his room.
I was getting breakfast and going back to check on Watts.
Well, yeah, that sounds good to you guys. You can certainly do that. Whether you want to do that right away or wait a little bit is up to you guys. The captain you have not seen since you left the hold, and you're making your way upstairs. Once you pass a more obvious porthole, you will see that the sky has grown dark.
Would probably just want it done before nightfall, so we don't have to worry about. Well, we still have to worry about it, but worry slightly less about getting murdered in our sleep. If we planted the seeds and followed through with it.
Well, if I guess it might be a good place to call it and wait for Dan to be back to make a decision about what you guys want to do next with like your midday into the afternoon.